Hello and welcome to our presentation. First, I would like to introduce our group. Our group's name is Research Obese, and it consists of Nancy Toth, Shoshana Eastman, and myself, Velasquez-Stump. So our research aims to investigate the influence education level has on obesity outcomes for adults. We shortened it to the acronym of T, and this is a multi-centered retrospective cohort investigation. So our research question is there an association between educational level and obesity in women? We're looking at BMIs over 30. We hypothesize that an educational level of high school graduate, also known as Group 1, or lower will result in a greater mean BMI when compared to the mean BMI for women with higher educational levels, such as college graduates, which is also known as Group 2. So why did we choose to talk about obesity? Well, there's a few reasons, but first of all, I would like to point out that according to the CDC, approximately 2 in 3 adults are classified as overweight. That's about 70.2% of the population. So while the percentage of obese men has remained the same, roughly 35%, since 2013, the number of women classified as obese actually continues to rise, which is totaling to 45%. The numerous health outcomes associated with obesity, such as cardiovascular disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and different cancers, they provide the ground for this extensive research to mitigate this health condition. So a little background information that we found is that people of lower educational level tend to belong to lower income groups, which in return both contribute to poor health outcomes. So actually, women are more likely to have a higher education as compared to men, but it's also interesting that women are also more likely to be obese as compared to men. We found this very important to note, but also to keep in mind as we were going to conduct this research. So the gap in today's literature varies between male and females. While previous literature points to educational levels having an impact on healthy life habits, such as the link between educational level and the rise in female obesity, actually remains poorly understood. So more importantly, much of the research linking lower education links to men, but excludes the female population, which caused us to start questioning really what is the relation between women and obesity. It's important to study the female population when it comes to this topic, as women are actually at higher risk for developing obesity, according to the CDC. So once again, this is our research question/design. We are studying the association between educational level and obesity in women, particularly BMIs over 30. We hypothesize that an education level of high school graduates or lower will result in greater mean BMIs when compared to the mean BMIs for women with higher educational levels, such as college graduates. And once again, as a reminder, this research design will be a retrospective cohort study. So now we're going to define the study cohort. Our target population is women at least 30 years of age with a BMI over 30, and they will be particularly considered for a chart review. So some inclusion criteria that we distinguished is they need to be a female at least 30 years of age, BMI of over 30, they need to be physically, mentally capable, and willing to give informed consent. And finally, they need to be able to read and write in either English or Spanish. Some exclusion criteria includes the inability to comprehend or comply with study procedures and participation. The diagnosis of a condition that could be contributing to a patient's obesity would also disqualify them from the study. Unable to read or write in English or Spanish. And also mental of psychiatric condition could have played a role in education level attainment. So our sample recruitment approach, we planned a multi-center study involving the following clinic types. A few of them include primary care physician clinics, weight loss clinics, chiropractors, physiotherapy, rehabilitation clinics. Patients would be approached to participate in the research trial by their healthcare provider. And once again, our target population is women at least 30 years of age with a BMI over 30, and they will be considered for a chart review. So the sampling approach that we thought was the most appropriate was the stratified random sampling. We believe this type of sampling is appropriate because the location of the clinic may be indirectly related to the study outcome. By diving the potential study participants according to the location or the clinic type and selecting the sample from these groups, it enables the reduction of women with master level educations, for example, from being excluded from the study. We're trying to be inclusive as possible. Beginning with a characteristic related indirectly to the outcome of the research, we are trying to reduce the bias and also provide a more accurate representation of the population. So some data collection methods that would be used in this study would be obviously the retrospective chart study. It's essential to collect the quantitative data that we're looking for, which would be heights and weights, in order to calculate the BMI of the patients. It would also be necessary to gather the level of education, which can be ranked by numbering scale of sorts, such as less than high school diploma would equal 1, high school diploma / GED would equal 2, and so forth. Questionnaires, which is also why it is very important for the participant to understand in English and Spanish, would be distributed to the patients to gather information such as income, quality of life, eating habits, and lifestyle habits. And the potential confounders are genetic predispositioning for obesity, chronic illnesses that predispose a patient to obesity, cultural beliefs on what is considered a healthy weight. These questions will be asked in the questionnaires to account for confounders. So just to recap, the quantitative analysis. So the descriptive analysis would include the mean BMI of each sample group, the median BMI of each sample group, the mode BMI of each sample group, the standard deviation of the sample group, the 95% confidence interval, the hypothesis testing, and the graph where each patient is marked by a point to represent BMI on the y-axis and educational level on the x-axis. Also, adjusted analysis would not be applicable for our study. Now moving on to the qualitative analysis. The qualitative analysis includes the frequency and relative frequency for each response to the interview questions. It includes the count totals in Excel and represent results using the bar graphs or the summary table. The key for interview responses. It also summarizes the responses to photos shown in the interview, and also the hypothesis testing. This is following the 5-step setup, which will be used in the hypothesis testing using the Z statistics, as both groups will be greater than 30, where the mean, the standard deviation, everything is calculated at a 95% confidence interval. So some of the interview questions that would be asked, and it would be accompanied by a prompt. We're going to go over a few real quick, but such as question number 1, what is your highest educational level? But the prompt used to provoke some good answers would be, have you completed high school? Have you attended college, graduated college? How about any other advanced education program, such as a master's or a doctorate? What about a vocational school? So question number 8, talk specifically about the picture. So our question would be, what do you consider obese? And we would actually have a photo of various types of bodies that we would show the participant. And the prompt for the picture that we would use would be, are any of these pictures fitting that description? And wait for them to analyze the pictures and to choose what best fits their idea of an obese body type. Some of the open-ended questionnaires that we would be using is a self-administered questionnaire that is aimed to gather additional information that may be useful to the study, especially for data missed during the interview, as well as a collection of quantitative data. Some of our open-ended questionnaire examples would be, how often do you eat daily? What are some of the type of foods that you consume when you eat? And also, like, what would you need in order to eat healthier? And last open-ended question would be just a generic diary, a self-reflection of what a person would be eating for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and dessert. And that would be aimed towards what they ate the day before the interview happened. And that is it. Here are our resources. Thank you so much for listening to our research project. And we hope that this research project really provokes future research to be done studying the relationship between women and obesity. Thank you.